Welcome to the Women in Digital Dentistry podcast, where we empower through innovation. I'm Allison Lacoussiere, your host, and each week we'll explore the mindset and the skill set of creating a successful practice and life for women in business. From the latest in dental technology to mastering marketing strategies, creating team synergy, cultivating a powerful money mindset, this podcast is your resource to empower yourself and your team to have the most success possible. Whether you're an established business professional or just beginning your journey, we're here to help you unlock your full potential, lead with confidence, and have an incredible journey along the way. Welcome to the Women in Digital Dentistry podcast. Welcome to another episode of Women in Digital Dentistry. I am here with a woman who needs zero introduction, Katrina Sanders. Welcome to our show.
Hi, my little love button. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so good that I got on a Zoom this afternoon. You were my first meeting appointment after lunch.
Oh,
yes, you are my first.
Oh, I love that. We're so lucky, aren't we, to be in this beautiful world of powerful women that love each other and see each other for who we are and can lift each other, even in moments where you don't even realize you need to be lifted. It's a beautiful thing. So thank you for lifting me.
Oh my gosh, thank you for always lifting me. And I want to introduce you with a story of the very first time that you and I got to meet in person. And it was in 2020 at Vanessa Emerson's Weevolution. Jumpstart is what it was called back then.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I were the moderators. We were the MCs.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing you for the first time, and I was like, oh, she's so beautiful, like glamorous, like gorgeous. And I had seen you on podcasts, on stages, on all sorts of things for so long. And I literally was like, I get to hang out with a celebrity all day. And
wow.
Authentic and lovely and funny. That was the thing I remembered about you the most. I was like, she is really funny. So that was my very first introduction to Katrina Sanders in real life.
Wow. You know what's so funny about that is I had lost my dad 2 weeks before that. So I felt like a shell of a human. So I'm glad that you saw me as this sparkly, bubbly thing. And I will say, my favorite memory of first meeting you is something that I remember, and I say to myself a lot. You and I started talking about business stuff and whatever. We just met, but it's one of the, you know how it is with people like that. You're just like, oh, we're connected. We've known each other in other lives, or we're soul sisters in some way. And I remember you saying to me the words, "Time is my most diminished resource." And I remember thinking about that. And I remember thinking about the power of somebody so young knowing that about herself and recognize. And I say that to myself now because women in business, we tend to see ourselves just as a commodity, and our time and the things that we invest into what we're doing, we don't place the value on it that we should. Time is our most diminished resource. And when you said that to me, I just lost my dad suddenly, tragically, and unexpectedly. And so that really hit me at such an important time in my life when I needed to remember that and understand it for the depth that it was. My time is valuable. It's the one thing I can't get back. And like many of us, it is my most diminished resource. And so you have so much wisdom beyond you, and I remember that. I hold that in my heart so much because it was really special.
I don't remember saying that, but it is definitely something I would say. And
yeah.
glad to hear that it resonated at that time in life. And I think it's so important that we remember it as we move forward in every aspect of our life.
Yeah.
Something that I'm so excited to have you on this show because you, for the whole time I've known you, have been such a leader in authenticity, in bringing your whole self, in bringing everything in your life, everything, your whole being to everything that you do. And I think it's really the reason why people just love you. They adore you. I see you on social media. I'm just I'm sending you so much love because I feel you all the time in everything that you do. You bring your whole self to it. And I know that some of the things that you faced in the last couple of years have been really hard. And you've still got on stage, have educated the masses, have changed people's lives. Tell me about the resilience that you have.
Oh my gosh, that's well. First of all, thank you so much for saying that. I'm going to hold that in my heart because I'm somebody who says thank you, thank you, thank you, and I'm working on embracing those kind words from people. So thank you very much for that. I don't know if I have a good way to even share what or where or how the resilience, how it happens. I feel like I have lived a lot of lifetimes for somebody my age, with the tragedies, and it seems like the universe will give me a tragedy and then it'll be like, I'm sorry that both of your parents died within 24 months of each other. Here's Prince Charming, and then I'm like, oh my gosh. And so then I have this like amazing whirlwind thing. And then it's like, oh, and you guys are going to get pregnant. And here's the pregnancy loss that happened. I mean, the universe just, it's really, it throws a lot at me. And I have to think about the kind of person I want to be in these moments. Most recently, I did have a pregnancy loss last year. It was a late term pregnancy loss. And what was absolutely horrifying is I lost my daughter on a Tuesday and I had to speak in Florida on a Friday. And I did. I flew out to Florida and I spoke on that Friday. And I still looked pregnant, and people were coming up to me and congratulating me on my pregnancy. And there were a few people who knew that I had lost. I needed the committee to know and things like that, so that they knew why I wasn't going to show up to the social events and things like that. And out of the blue, I just started having women in the committee come up to me and say, I experienced this loss. I experienced this. I experienced this. And then when I started to share about my loss on social media, I had other women say, my husband and I had 5 losses, and then we had this beautiful baby. And the more that I started to share about this, the more I started to look around and realize that other people experience these things. And because it's not savory, it becomes taboo. My mom used to say all the time, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. And so I took it to mean the extreme. Don't complain about anything. Don't say anything bad. Everything is great all the time. I'm so blessed. I love my speaking career. I love being on a plane 5 times a week. I love the status I have on Southwest. I love knowing the TSA agents in the Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport. I love walking in and out of the Centurion Lounge. I love my dogs having PTSD every time I bring my suitcase. I mean, we try to glamorize this thing, and the reality is we're human. Mm-hmm. And I will say that to me, I think changed the dynamic of how I decided to show up, because I'm expected to stand up there as a dental hygienist and an educator and lead that room through making different clinical decisions. But I think there's more to it than that. What we do in dentistry is provide care to human beings. There's a humanistic element to what we do. And I do believe that it is tragedies and pain and challenge that binds us as human beings to each other more than the joys. And I'll share one of my favorite stories about this. After I lost my mom suddenly, tragically, unexpectedly. She just collapsed in the kitchen and was gone. I remember, I'm the oldest in the family. I had to go home and help my dad with the funeral arrangements and the paperwork. And my mom is an organ donor. And so my dad had piles and piles of paperwork and things that he had to sign. I remember when we got to the funeral home and making the choices about what spray of flowers we want to, blah, 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 all the stuff. My dad just had a moment where he just lost it, and I'm done signing papers. And he turned around and walked out of Shuta Funeral Home in Stevens Point, Wisconsin. He had hit his limit. And I remember, as the oldest, being there for my dad, and Dad, I'm so sorry. This is so horrible that you have to be constantly reminded and sign these papers. And I'm so sorry. And being there to comfort my dad, who I'd never ever in my life seen cry. But there he was, just a broken version of this strong man I knew my whole life. And so here we are. About a week later, I'm in clinical practice, and I have a patient who was supposed to fill out her updated health history information and is throwing a fit at the front desk and refuses to fill it out. And Rita, our front office gal, comes back and goes, "Oh, your 10 o'clock patient refuses to fill out this updated patient paperwork. She's been an established patient, but she had to update the paperwork." I said, "All right, let me take care of it." So I grabbed the clipboard, brought the patient back, sat down, and I said, "I'm going to start at the beginning. Do you have anemia? Do you have anaphylaxis? Do you have arthritis?" And about 4 conditions in, my patient started crying. And she said, "I'm so sorry. My husband died yesterday. He'd been on hospice care, and I was signing constant paperwork to transfer him with hospice and trying to get the bed and the nurse, and then he died, and so then I'm trying to get all these things, and now I've got family coming in town, and I've got to plan the funeral and all this stuff." And so I paused. It was one of those, like, man, how does this happen to me, right? I closed the door, I put down the clipboard, and I just said, we don't have to do this today. Are you okay?" And she just finally like released it. Women, we hold it all in. We hold it all in, and everything's okay. And she released, and she shared about how just this was her person, and they'd been married for 47 years, and their grown kids and grandkids were coming in, and she just felt so devastated, and she couldn't process any of this, and all this was happening so fast. And so we keep these Starbucks cards at the front desk. And so I grabbed one and I brought it to her, and I said, "We're not going to do this today. We'll reschedule you for another time. Here's a $10 Starbucks gift card. Go to Starbucks and just sit with your thoughts." And I think about those moments, and I think about the fact that these layers of things that I've been through in my life, I hope, give me the opportunity to be more human to those moments when people need human.
100%. Oh my gosh. Yes, 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 yes. And this was honestly one of the inspirations for me, even starting Women in Digital Dentistry, because as a coach, like I'm talking to all these women in different places, and it's like we're sharing secrets. We're talking about like the hard stuff. We're talking about the really devastating things in life, or the really great things in life as their coach. And all of the women were going through really hard things alone.
Yeah.
Thinking like what I'm going through right now is not like nobody else could possibly be going through this, especially not in the business world. But the reality is, as a woman, especially, there are so many things that we get to go through as women, we have to go through as women, that really do show up in the business world. But they're like put into this bucket over here, like, whoa, like we can't talk about that. But I'm like, but it like this is such a normal and like common and real part of life. Like,
That's right.
Why aren't we here having a conversation and supporting each other and normalizing the hardship and the reality of it? And something I feel like you do so well is you bring these, like you said, you bring these conversations to the forefront so that we can heal together. And we can, not that we want to like normalize our pain, but like pain is normal. Like it's,
Yes.
if we're just ashamed or we're scared or we're sad or we're like, being alone is the worst thing that you could do in those moments.
You're spot on. Loneliness is such an important component, and people are studying loneliness. Loneliness doesn't just mean, well, I look around me and I've got a husband and I've got friends, so I'm not lonely. There's a deeper layer to that. Loneliness can also mean there are people around you, but you don't feel understood. You don't feel heard. They don't see you for who you are. And so loneliness can show up in those moments where, although you have family and friends around you, none of them understand you. And I will say, I used to call myself the black sheep of the family. I now call myself the glitter sheep of the family. But the reality is, like, I'm not like anybody else in my family. I'm not like them. I'm not like where I came from. I've always looked and responded to and felt and had different ideas totally differently from everybody else. And that made me feel lonely. It did. I used to be seen as the overly dramatic, oh, Katrina, oh, but the reality is, and I will say, I'm going to give credit to my husband for this. My husband always says, yeah, your family calls you the dramatic one, but I think you should celebrate that. Because here's the reality. When my sister got engaged, guess who was the one who threw the biggest outrageous party for her, the most ridiculous bachelorette party you could ever imagine. When my brother graduated from college, I threw the most spectacular, ridiculous luau for him. Yeah, I am dramatic, and there's something so special to that. For so long, I felt lonely in it. And I think one of the reasons why so many of us feel lonely is because we don't step into our authentic selves. We feel like we have to be this version of ourselves that everybody expects us to be. And I'll say, as a woman, as a dental hygienist, as a speaker, as a business owner, I'm expected to be a certain way. I'm expected to behave a certain way. I'm expected to allow certain things to happen. I just, in between this, my husband actually, he works for me. He's my COO. He was just on a call with a client, and this client has a large study club of a couple thousand dentists. And this gentleman said, well, Katrina's a hygienist, so I don't know what kind of message she's going to have for the dentists in my study club. Okay. So there are these expectations. You're a woman, you're a hygienist, so stay in your lane. Talk to hygienists, don't talk to anybody. You're a woman, so this is going to be your niche, and that's it. And I'm expected to respond to that and behave that. And I was taught growing up things like children should be seen and not heard. And this is what a good girl does, right? And so those lessons from authority taught me that I was supposed to behave a certain way. And as a business woman now, I'm having a hard time being forced to fit into this world that doesn't feel correct for me. And I do believe that part of the special sauce of what I do is because it's me. That's what people want to see. That's what people hire. That's what people promote on social media, is that you're going to get her. So you got to deal with all of her. And I'm not a drama queen. I'm not a speaker who asks for a bowl of green Skittles and black car service to pick me up. I'm not that. But I do believe that when I command an audience, I should also command the respect of the clients I work with. So the more that I step into my authenticity and say things like, I'm not going to permit anyone to interrupt me when I'm in the middle of a meeting. I'm not going to be told that because I'm a hygienist, my voice does not matter to this audience. I unfortunately won't hear that, because my value and my worth, I know, but that's authenticity. And I think the more that I get to ooze that out, the more that I think I'm creating this world where people feel like it's okay to be themselves too. And then maybe we won't be as lonely, because then instead of being like, oh, Katrina Sanders deals with real problems. Like, yeah, things look really sparkly on social media, but she deals with real stuff. And yet she continues to show up. And I'm dealing with something very similar, or maybe not the same thing at all, but I'm having a hard time too. And she's doing it with grace. We can do this. We can do hard things. That maybe being authentic, which for me growing up was so unsavory, because I grew up in a very conservative Catholic household where this is what you do. Maybe instead of falling into that mold, I become myself. And along the way, it makes it okay for other people to be themselves. to be an authentic version of themselves. And when you do that and you truly find your tribe, then when something horrifying like losing your baby at 22 and a half weeks happens, you don't feel alone. You feel the community of people around you and the women who have been through that and the women who haven't been through it but knew what this meant to me, my husband, my family, and how tragic and devastating this is. You feel that, and it means that you're not suffering from loneliness. You're just dancing with authenticity.
Yes. Yes. 100%. This is so beautiful, so inspiring. And I know so many people need to hear this, especially right now. And I really see you as somebody who is like, you're expanding the capacity of what it means to be a woman in business. Like, you're like, no, this isn't big enough. Like, let's just move out the walls and I'm rearranging the furniture. And
Yeah.
you're showing every woman what's possible. And I think that's how women learn. And that's how women connect. And that's how women grow is we see someone, we're like, oh, it's possible. It's possible to be more authentic. It's possible to be honest with what you're going through. It's possible to ask for support. It's
Yeah.
possible to say, whoa, something crazy just happened at a meeting. Like, we can't stand for this. And
Right.
not like tuck it away and hide it into like our own little shame box in our hearts and think it's our fault. And I think you give people permission. And so if we could wrap up this podcast, I feel like we need like another 3 hours.
I know. Get a glass of wine. We need time.
um, what would you say, like thinking into the future of dentistry and the work that we're doing and the work that you're doing for women specifically, like just by being who you are, what do you want women to have permission for in this next like phase, this next iteration of dentistry? Like as we expand out the walls, what do women need to give themselves permission for? What do they need to have permission for in order to make not just their lives better and the lives of everyone around them, but dentistry better?
Oh, gosh, what a powerful question. What a powerful question. I'm going to flip it on its head a little bit and say women don't need permission for anything. I think the concept of needing permission means that we're waiting for some authority to say, okay, it's your turn now. You can cross the street. Okay. And I don't think we need permission. However, it is lost on me that when we get into those moments, those lonely moments when, and I will say I had one today. If I could be so bold, I feel a little bit like Taylor Swift. I've got some intellectual property that somebody's using, and I'm going to make the Taylor's version. Like I literally feel like I'm about trying to figure out how to buy back my records. Like when you get into those moments, it's a very natural reaction for women to back down and go, oh, and we get this imposter. I don't deserve to be in this space. They're men. They know business. Oh, who am I? I'm just a hygienist. And it's in those moments that I think we do need to give ourselves permission in those moments of weakness. And so if I could be so bold as to say, I think the one thing that I hope that women will give themselves permission to do, I hope you will give yourself permission to reach for that thing you want without being held back by the what ifs. Because I will tell you, for the women who did say, this is what I want, and had all that negative self-talk that we love to do, and women do it so well. We all have this like little gremlin that sits in the back of our brain that's like, oh, you want that? Well, what if nobody will pay for it? What if nobody cares what you have to say? What if you have diarrhea on stage? What if this? What if that? All these things that, this little gremlin in the back of our brain says, and those what ifs convince us and talk ourselves out of that thing that we want. And so many of us live our lives pining for that thing that we want. And rarely do we actively give ourselves the permission to go max bet and go, But what if I fly? What if I reach for that thing I want? What if 8 years ago I said, I would love to build a business off of drinking wine, talking about dentistry and saving homeless animals? And what if I let that little voice say, you're ridiculous. There's no way that wine and dentistry go together. There's no way anybody's going to take you seriously and nobody's going to pay for what you have to do. What if I let that what if say that to me 8 years ago? I would not be here today. I am living proof of what happened when I gave myself permission to go max bet on my life. And I did that while grieving the death of my mother, grieving the death of my father, walking away from a 9-year relationship with a gaslighting narcissist, meeting my husband, marrying my husband, getting pregnant, losing that baby, and continuing to move forward. Life will continue to happen. You get to decide and give yourself that permission and to silence those other what ifs, because I will tell you, going max bet on what you want is absolutely magnificent.
Mic drop.
There it is.
Mic drop. Oh, yes, yes. Ladies and gentlemen, Katrina Sanders.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That was yes. And when women do that, specifically women, the world statistically, emotionally, strategically, financially, the world gets better when you say yes to the thing that you love, to the thing that lights you up, to the thing that's on your heart, the thing that's like kind of scary for you. And as soon as you say yes to that, not just your life gets better, truly the entire world gets better.
Literally. And not to back this up with data, but there is amazing science that says, here's what happens when women achieve and they make money beyond their wildest dreams. Do you know what happens? These women give back.
Yes.
Create sustainability.
The economy.
They stimulate the economy. They inspire other women. They mentor, they grow, they foster. I mean, putting success and money in the hands of women creates such a gorgeous, sustainable community. Truly, it is magnificent. The Eras Tour with Taylor Swift is a terrific example of that. Truly.
No, it is 100% true. And then you stepping into your light. That's what you've done with your life. It truly does. It gives other women the ability to see what's possible for them. So you go in and change the lives of so many other people. Katrina, how can we find you? I mean, obviously it says right in your bio, the dental wine hygienist.
Yeah.
Go on Instagram. Anything else that you want to leave with our audience today before we
come find me on Instagram at the Dental Wine Hygienist. I'm also on Facebook. I do some stuff on LinkedIn. And if you want to learn more about me and the stuff I'm doing, you can always connect on my website at www.katrinasanders.com.
Katrina, thank you. You're amazing. You. Absolutely love you. Thank you so much,
babe.
Light with the world.
You're the best.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Women in Digital Dentistry. We hope you found today's discussion inspiring and full of actionable insights to help you thrive in your practice and beyond. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to subscribe so you never miss an update. And if you know someone who would benefit from these conversations, please share this podcast with them. We would love to hear your thoughts and feedback, so feel free to leave us a review or connect with us on social media. Together, we are building a powerful community of women leading the way in digital dentistry. Until next time, keep innovating, keep growing, and keep making a difference in the world of dentistry. Thanks for listening.